to go back to Egypt, let's talk about people who are alleged to be Nubians and admitted in letters. The first letter is the prophecies of Neferti. The prophecies of Neferti speak of a king named Ameni, and Ameni is apparently going to banish the enemies of Egypt or chaos, known as Desher or Deshret. Now, keep in mind, this might not be a prophecy, but rather a propaganda letter written to try and justify the pharaonic era of these people because they were not really of royal birth. The prophet here, or the prophesizer here, is tasked by Sneferu to give a prophecy, and Sneferu says, "There is a king who will come from the south, Ameni, true of voice is his name. He is the son of a woman of the land of the bow. He is a child of the heartland of Nekin. He will take up the white crown. He will raise up the red crown. He will unite two mighty goddesses. He will appease the two Lord gods with what they desire. The field circuit is in the grasp, the oar in the jump." Now, the interesting part is that they said that his mother will be from the land of the bow and he will be the savior of Egypt. The land of the bow is known as Taseti, and Taseti is known as the land where the Nubians came from because they were really good with bow and arrows. So that's why it was called the land of the bow. The Ameni in question is Ameni Seneb. And probably the reason why this was written was to justify his kingship. And it is known that his genealogy comes from Taseti during the 12th dynasty. At least it's what they say. And if his genealogy comes from Taseti, we know that the Tassetians, at least the most likely people of Tasseti, spoke a Nilo-Saharan language, which means they were Nilo-Saharan, Nubian, and we don't know who they were specifically, but we do know that they were of Nubian stock. So this would have been a Nubian dynasty. But to continue with the tale itself, it speaks of these people, even though they're from Tasseti, as the native Egyptians who will banish the foreign enemies known as the Asiatics. So the Asiatics are considered foreign in this case, and even the Nubians are considered stabilizers of Egypt, which makes sense because of the red crown, white crown, representing both Upper and Lower Egypt, and Lower Egypt being known as the frontier or Nubian abode. It happened that the power of the dual king Sneferu, true of voice, was the good king in this entire land. One day it happened that the council of the residents entered the palace. May it live, prosper, and be well for the audience. They emerged after they had made their audience in their regular daily manner. Then his power, may he live, prosper, and be well, said to the sealer who was beside him, "Hurry and bring me the council of the residents that went here for the audience today." Back they were brought at once, and they were on their stomachs in the presence of his power. May he live, prosper, and be well, a second time. Then his power, may he live, prosper, and be well, said to them, "Comrades, look, I have had you summoned to have you seek out for me a son of yours who is wise, a brother of yours who is excellent, a friend of yours who can strike the right chord, who will tell me some fine words, some choice phrases to entertain my power at hearing them." Then they were on their stomachs in the presence of his power. May he live, prosper, and be well. A second time. Then they said before his power, may he live, prosper, and be well. There is a great lector of Bast, a sovereign our Lord, called Neferti. He is a commoner, valiant in his arm. He is a writer, excellent in his fingers. Let him be brought for his power to see him. Then his power, may he live, prosper, and be well, said, go and bring him to me. Then he was brought to him at once, and he was on his stomach in the presence of his power, may he live, prosper, and be well. Then his power, may he live, prosper, and be well, said, come then, Neferti, friend, tell me some fine words, choice phrases, to entertain my power at hearing them. And the lector, Neferti, said, on what has happened, or what is to happen? O sovereign, may he live, prosper, and be well, my lord. So his power, may he live, prosper, and be well, said, on what is to happen, for today is already happened and gone. And he stretched out his hand to the chest of writing equipment and took out the papyrus roll and writing palette and prepared to write down what the lector Neferti would say. As a man of knowledge in the East, belonging to the Bast in her rising, a child of a province, ruler, and Nedj, he gathered his thoughts on the events in this land. He recalled the turmoil of the East, the rampage of the Asiatics with their forces, disrupting their hearts of theirs at harvest, seizing those yoked in plowing. He said, stir yourself, my heart, as you weep for this land where you started. Silence would be refreshment. Look, what is said of it should inspire respect. Look, now, the great is sent sprawling there where you started. Do not tire. Look at it before you. Stand up to what is in front of you. Look now, the great are in the condition of the land. What was made is become unmade. Ra must begin his creation. The land is destroyed entirely. Nothing is left over. There is not a trace of fingernail in its fixed place. The land is destroyed without any to care for it, any to speak up, any to make lament. What will become of this land? The sun disk is a being concealed and will not shine for the people to see, and no one can live when the clouds are covered. Then they are, everyone, deafened in its absence. I am to say what is before me. I am not prophesying what has not happened. The river of Egypt is dry. The water is crossed on foot. Water is sought for, boats for its sailings. Its course is turned into its shore, its sandbank into flood, the place of water into what should be the place of the shore. The south wind does battle with the north wind. There will be not one wind for the sky. Alien birds will give birth in the pool of the delta. It has made a nest on the delta fringes, even approaching people out of famine. Utterly destroyed are those times of happiness at the basin lakes, with men set to slitting fish, overflowing with fish and fowl. All happiness has departed, flung down in the land of hardship. From those weights of supplies of the Asiatics who are throughout the land, men of violence have emerged in the east. Asiatics are coming down into Egypt. The confines are lost. Another is beside, who will not be heard. The ladder will be blocked in the night. The camps will be entered. The bleary-eyed will be overpowered. As the sleeper says, I am awake. The herds of the foreign lands will drink from the rivers of Egypt. They will be refreshed on their shores, for want of any to drive them back. This land is to be taken and carried off, unaware of the onset of what will happen, hidden in the saying, "Look out, the hearer is going deaf, the silent one is before us." I give you the land in the passing of evil. What should not happen happens. Weapons of war will be taken up as the land lives in turmoil. Weapons will be made of copper. The bread they request will be blood. They will burst into laughter at grief. No one will weep at death. No one will sleep hungry for want for death. No mourning will be observed today. The heart is turned entirely to itself. A man rests on his side. At his back, one man kills another. I can show you the son as attacker, the brother as enemy, man murdering his father. Every mouth is filled with "love me." Happiness is all gone. The land is laid waste, even though law is decreed for it. Destruction is a fact. Ruin is reality. What was done is undone. A man's property is taken from him and given to the outsider. Let me show you the master in grief, the outsider in peace. The one who never received his fill can now go and empty. Goods are giving out only hatefully to silence the mouth of the speaker. The phrase is answered at the arm raised with a stick, and people speak by murder. Speech alights on the heart like fire. No one can bear a word from the mouth. The land is poor, but rich in directors. It lies ruined, but its labors are great. The harvest is small, the grain measured great, and must be measured out in daylight. Ra distances himself from mankind. He rises, and the hour is there, but no one knows if midday will come. Shadows cannot be made out. Sight cannot shine at the being watched. Eyes cannot brim with water, as he is there in the sky like the moon. And his time for knowing cannot be impaired, yet his rays in sight in the same moments as for the ancestors. Let me show you the land in turmoil. The powerless is now powerful. The one who should greet receives the greeting. And let me show you the lower made the upper, stirred around after stirring around the body. People live in the cemetery, and the humbled will acquire great wealth until uproar breaks out. It is the vagabonds who can eat bread, the laborers can enforce labor. The province of the sun god can no longer be the birthplace of any god. There is a king who will come from the south. Amani, true of voice, is his name. He is the son of a woman of the land of the bow. He is the child of the heartland of Nekin. He will take up the white crown. He will raise up the red crown. He will unite the two mighty goddesses. He will appease the two lord gods. The field circuit is in his grasp, the oar in the jump. Rejoice, O people of this time. The Son of Man will make his name for eternity and everlasting time. Those who fall into evil or plan treason, they will be overthrown on themselves for fear of him. The Asiatics will fall at his slaughter. The Libyans will fall at his fire, the rebels at his force, the evil-hearted at his majesty. The rising cobra who is in the palace will overpower the evil-hearted for him. They will build the walls of the ruler, may he live, prosper, and be well, to prevent the Asiatics from coming down into Egypt. If they request water in the proper manner, to let their flocks drink, right is returned to its place, and evil is expelled. Rejoice, whoever will see, whoever will live in the following of the king. The wise man will pour water for me when he sees what I have said come to pass. Much like I wish you have seen what I've seen in these statements, which is that the Asiatics and Libyans are cast down as foreigners who will be blocked, but Nubians are not mentioned in any way, except when they're mentioned bringing forth this king who will block out the Asiatics and Libyans, meaning that Egypt and Nubia at this time are one. And this dynasty, the 12th dynasty, is occupied by Emini, who is the pharaoh. Though others have alleged the previous guy I mentioned to be Ameni, it's more likely to be Amenemhet the First, who I have shown in these pictures. He was the founder of the 12th dynasty and basically ruled. And if it is correct that he commissioned this as propaganda, then it's a self confession of being of Nubian stock. Now, this does not mean he's foreign because he also says that he is from Nekin, which is in Egypt. Not only does it not mean that, there is no distinction made of the land of the bow as a foreign area to Egypt. In fact, it seems like he is pushing back on other foreigners as the Asiatics and Libyans and claiming that Tasseti, a man of a Tasseti woman, is going to bring order and not chaos. Something that I also noticed about this is it's almost like a lot of these predictions had to do with today, where the Asiatics take credit and south is north and north is south. That's happened. These predictions seem like they happened. I put these pictures up here also to remind you that the physical appearance of the ancient Egyptians are damn near African to the tor. And of course, this is denied, so we need more evidence, which is why I keep bringing up all these written records so that I can show you that there isn't just a piece of evidence, there is a mountain of evidence. And this is only one king. I can bring like 30 others, not 30, but a plethora of others who are written about and have either quote unquote Nubian mothers or they have admitted their skin is black.